The 2025 Formula One pre-season winter testing session in Bahrain provided the first clues about the balance of power for the upcoming Formula One season, which is approaching rapidly. The start is set for Friday, March 14th, when the first free practice session at the 5.278-kilometer Albert Park Grand Prix circuit in Melbourne will take place, an essential session since some teams left the 3 days in Sakhir with many unresolved questions. As always, the numbers must be analyzed with caution, but some trends clearly emerge from the data collected over the 3 days of testing in Bahrain. One crucial detail, which may have been somewhat overlooked, concerns the mileage covered by the new cars. In this regard, Mercedes stands out with a return to mileage levels reminiscent of its dominant years. Conversely, it is surprising how little distance Red Bull covered, ranking last in the lap count. With a total of 458 laps, Mercedes was the team that covered the most kilometers in testing. This figure recalls the Anglo-German team's winning seasons, when their reliability and data-gathering ability were decisive strengths. One only has to think back to the early years of the turbo-hybrid era. While the Silver Arrows racked up mileage thanks to a more advanced and solid power unit, rivals spent long periods in the garage dealing with the propulsion failures typical of a new generation of engines. However, the comparisons end there. Unlike those years, the outlook for the pure competitiveness of the W16 is less encouraging for the team led by Toto Wolff. Despite the fact that the new Mercedes F1 car appears solid and consistent in long runs, its lap times do not seem to match those of McLaren, which, as explained in various analyses, currently emerges as the best-performing car. The most surprising data from the tests concerns Red Bull, which, with only 304 laps, was the team that completed the fewest. For a team that has dominated the scene in recent years with reliable and extremely fast cars, this is a warning sign. Technical issues and minor setbacks limited their work program, preventing rookie Liam Lawson from gaining the valuable experience he would have needed ahead of his Formula One debut with the Austrian side. This does not necessarily mean that the RB21 single-seater will not be competitive, but the fact that the former world champion team struggled in winter testing is not a sign to be overlooked. Moreover, it became clear that there is still work to be done. The team led by Pierre Watch did not obtain the desired results from the new floor and spent a lot of time comparing two front-wing specifications, which still require further evaluation, as the final version has yet to be determined. On the last day of testing, Max Verstappen appeared quite frustrated upon realizing that the car is not yet where he would like it to be. In Milton Keynes, the coming days will be filled with careful considerations. Behind Mercedes, Haas with 457 laps and Racing Bulls with 454 laps demonstrated great reliability, while Ferrari and McLaren stopped at 382 and 381 laps, respectively. The Woking team completed its work program without major issues, whereas the Italian side ended the final day early at the 5.412-kilometer Bahrain International Circuit in Sakhir. This prevented Lewis Hamilton from conducting a proper race simulation, which could have a significant impact, especially in the early part of the 2025 Formula One season, given that the Briton has yet to develop the desired connection with the team and the car. Additionally, Ferrari's new suspension configuration, namely pull rod at the front, requires further evaluation, as the SF25 remains a work in progress at this stage of the championship. It is part of an aggressive development push for 2025. With the 2026 Formula One rules and regulations just around the corner, this year is an almost risk-free opportunity to give their all. Alpine and Williams accumulated a good number of kilometers, while Kicksauber and Aston Martin ranked near the bottom of the lap count, just above Red Bull. The concern for these teams is not just the low mileage, but also the performance displayed. Neither the Swiss nor the British car appears to have made significant progress compared to last year. In fact, in the specific case of the AMR25, the step backward seems quite clear. Mercedes, the marathon runner of these tests, emerges with a vast amount of data to analyze, which is generally a positive sign at this early stage of the season. Red Bull, on the other hand, has little information to work with, which could prove costly at the start of the championship. Their ability to react will be crucial as they aim to end the current regulatory era on a high note, provided Ferrari and McLaren don't have other plans. Ferrari therefore bids farewell to Bahrain, having completed its pre-season test program with the SF25 ahead of the opening round in Australia on the 16th of March. Over the 3 days at Sakhir, the team did a total of 385 laps, equivalent to around 7 Grand Prix distances, and 284 kilometers. Charles Leclerc did 66 laps, equivalent to 357 kilometers, and set the fastest time of the morning. Over the 3 days, he drove 223 laps, 1207 kilometers, equivalent to 5 Grands Prix, while his new Maranello teammate Lewis Hamilton racked up 162 laps, equivalent to 876 kilometers or almost 3 race distances. The SF25's next appearance on track will be on Friday the 14th of March for the first free practice session for the Australian Grand Prix. Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur noted that it had been difficult to get a clear understanding of the overall situation in Bahrain due to constantly changing conditions, both from day to day and between morning and afternoon sessions. The French manager compared it to Las Vegas rather than the usual Bahrain. He mentioned that the Maranello team had worked very hard on the car over the past 6 months and had made significant improvements, but at the same time, he acknowledged that a true assessment of their position would only be possible once all teams were on track in Melbourne. The former Alfa Romeo team boss pointed out that the observed hierarchy in Bahrain did not necessarily reflect what had been seen in qualifying a week later under similar conditions in previous years, as the Frenchman also highlighted the significant temperature difference between Bahrain and Australia, suggesting that the situation in Melbourne could be entirely different. Frederic Vasseur emphasized the Maranello team's ambition for the 2025 Formula One campaign to fight for both championships, expressing confidence in their two drivers' capabilities. The Ferrari team principal stated that the mood within the Italian side was very positive and affirmed their commitment to continued hard work to ensure they were fully prepared for the start of the season in less than 2 weeks. Ferrari therefore have hopes of ending a 17-year Formula One title drought after the arrival of Lewis Hamilton ahead of the 2025 season. The Italian manufacturer missed out on the Constructors' Championship by just 14 points to McLaren after a tight fight in 2024. Signing the British driver could be the difference they need to get across the line and finally take home some significant silverware. Charles Leclerc observed that this pre-season testing had been quite different due to inconsistent weather in Bahrain, which made it difficult to draw clear conclusions. The Monegasque driver noted that wind conditions changed from run to run. There had even been some rain, and temperatures fluctuated throughout the week. As a result, he suggested that all teams were approaching the first race with more uncertainties than in previous years. However, he emphasized that they had still gained valuable insights, particularly regarding how the car felt on track. The Ferrari driver mentioned that the team would return to Maranello to work in the simulator, focusing on final details that could make a difference in Melbourne and ensuring that the correlation between the simulator and the real car was accurate. He stressed that their full attention was on maximizing performance in the coming week and expressed his excitement about the start of the 2025 Formula One season in Australia.